This meeting. All
right. Should be all set.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. This is Tina Powell. I'm going to go ahead and run the meeting today. Jody was unavailable to be here. Jennifer has put the sign-in link in the chat. If you guys can go in and sign in on that, that would be great. We will officially go ahead and call the September PUC 911 Task Force meeting to order at 10:03. Roll call.
Yep, give me just 1 second. Sorry, I always forget to pull that particular thing up. Of course, everything else, but not that one. Let me just get in there real quick. While I am pulling that up, do we want to go around the room and introduce ourselves here in the room?
Sure.
Please.
Beth Dobransky with Eagle County. Jackie Louise with 911 Solutions.
Travis Jensen, I work with Motorola. I'm over our Rave pillar.
Lane Feingold, Motorola.
Carl Stevens, Garfield 911.
Jim Cullen, Rock County Communications.
Ken Winward, Hexagon.
Jennifer Kirkland, State of Colorado.
Kathy Riley, Arapahoe County 911 Authority.
And I'm almost there. What?
Oh,
Is that what you need?
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, find
Should be EC guest.
the ECG guest.
I was
Okay.
just calling to tell you that I found that the frame from yesterday was really good.
No.
No caps.
Okay, starting roll call. CCI, Scott James, Tina Powell, Julie Nelson, or Allison DeUnison.
Tina's here.
Thank you. CML, Jeremy Shupback. Accessibility, Cheryl Garcia.
So this is Sarah Schober. I'm going to be Cheryl's proxy today.
Thank you, Sarah. At large, Shad Weber. BESP, Tim Kunkelman.
Good morning, I am here.
Good morning. BESP, Sean Ward Intrado.
Hello, this is Mary Staples on behalf of Sean.
Thank you, Mary. ILEC, Jeff Winkleman, Lumen.
Good morning.
Good morning. ILEC, Darla Joseph, NNTC. Wireless, Jenny Santana, T-Mobile. Wireless, Ryan Hoke, Viera or Mary Graham.
We are both here.
Good morning. CLEC or VoIP, Cindy Hartkop, Tina Medveer, or Josh Hemingway from Cinch.
Cindy's here.
Thank you. And I see Jenny just joined us. 911, Jody Chin.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. And I saw that Jeremy Shupback has joined us as well. 911, Travis Freeman, Morgan County. 911, Cindy Castile.
I'm here, thank you.
Good morning. 911, Kimberly Culp, Valerie Turner, or Tracy Oldmeyer for LIDA.
This is Kimberly and I'm on.
Good morning. 911, Jackie Reynolds with AdCom, or Ron Collins or Amy Book.
This is Jackie and we're here.
Good morning. 911, Beth Dobransky, here in the room. And thank you for hosting, Beth, by the way.
Welcome, my pleasure.
911, Valisha Librand, Caitlin Gockley, or Paula Nall from Sterling. (911) Jeff Irvin, Jeffco Broomfield. 911, Ronnie McGruder. (911) Deanie Shin, Shannon Bren from Douglas County.
Deanie's here.
Good morning. 911, Andrew Dameron or Jody Slate.
Andrew's here.
Good morning. 911, Michael Brewer or Kevin Biegert from Jeffcom. (911) Tina Bonetta or Scott Newman, City of Aurora. (911) Kathy Rayleigh.
I'm here.
In the room. 911 Matt Gage or Alex Wall from Metza. (911) Carl Stevens.
Here.
In the room. Good morning. 911 Patty West or
Patty's-
Christine Mason.
Patty's on the line.
Good morning. And we do have a quorum for you, Tina.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate it. We will go ahead and move on to the approval of the July 2024 minutes. If everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve.
This is Carl, so moved.
Jeff Winkleman, a second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any further discussion on the meeting minutes or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving the July 2024 meeting minutes signifying by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. We can go ahead and show those as approved. On to our presentation for today, our very own Daryl on interacting with the PUC.
Thank you. Jennifer, are you able to give me screen share abilities?
Yeah, I think if you request to share, it'll pop over a request and I can approve it.
When I click it, it just says host disabled.
Oh, well, give me a minute and I'll fix that.
Okay.
There you go. Try that.
There we go. Thank you. Are you able to see the title screen?
Yes.
Okay. So at the last task force meeting, I offered to provide a presentation on how to engage with the PUC, primarily on the topic of if you have a complaint about basic emergency service, what some of your options are, because there are several different options that I'm not sure all of the local 911 governing bodies are aware of. So I wanted to make sure that people were aware of them. A copy of this presentation has already been placed on the 911 program webpage. And if I can figure out how to get back to turn on my camera, I will do that so that you're not just staring at the screen as well. So this is a fairly short presentation, and then I can entertain questions, but I just wanted to give you sort of the escalating levels that you can go through to address complaints. Not all of these levels are required. You can skip some of them, but I wanted to give you all of the different options that are available to you. So as a disclaimer, this information is provided in this presentation, and the information provided in this presentation is intended to provide procedural options for 911 governing bodies or public safety answering points seeking to resolve issues related to the delivery of 911 service. It does not constitute legal advice. You should not take legal advice from me because I am not a lawyer, and is not intended to encourage litigation or the initiation of litigated proceedings before the Colorado Public Utilities Commission. Consult with an attorney prior to taking legal action or initiating proceedings before the commission. In other words, these are to give you an idea of what your options are, but it is not intended to be legal advice. The topics, I'm going to be giving a brief introduction of the topic. I'm going to be talking about what the PUC is, which I wrote this for in the event of new people coming into 911 in Colorado who may not be familiar with the PUC. So a lot of this will be very basic to you, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to go through it anyway, just for those who may have never really gotten the spiel about what the Public Utilities Commission is and how it operates. And then we're going to talk about options for engagement with the PUC. Regarding those options for engagement, we're going to talk about escalation directly with the company. We're going to talk about informal complaints submitted to commission staff, formal complaints filed with the commission, petitions filed with the commission, and engagement with the commission through the commission's 911 Advisory Task Force. By way of introduction, the purpose of this presentation is to provide basic information to local governments regarding how they can inform the Colorado PUC of issues with 911 call delivery. The PUC regulates basic emergency service, or BES, which is, this is the short version of the definition, the aggregation and transport of 911 calls to a public safety answering point. The company that provides this service is referred to as the Basic Emergency Service Provider, or BESP, and complaints about BES or the BESP can and should be directed to the commission. This presentation will not cover how a 911 governing body would apply to increase their emergency telephone charge. There's already a video covering that topic on the Commission's 911 program webpage, which can be accessed from this QR code, or I'm guessing most of the people in this particular audience already know how to get there. The rules referenced today can be found at this QR code below. These are the Commission's rules of practice and procedure. I'll pause in case anybody wants to pull that up, but otherwise, if you need direction to reach those rules of practice and procedure, you can email me later and I will send you a link. So first, what is the PUC? The PUC is a constitutionally created state agency tasked with regulating public utilities. What constitutes a public utility is defined by the legislature and currently includes industries as diverse as natural gas and pipeline safety, railroads, power companies, inmate communications service providers, tow trucks, taxis, and more. And telecom is one section within the PUC for all of the different industries that it regulates. The PUC has other duties and authorities assigned to it by the legislature beyond what is outlined in the Constitution, such as the authority to enforce 911 surcharge collection, even from entities not otherwise considered utilities, such as wireless telephone companies. The commission is made up of 3 commissioners appointed by the governor and approved by the Colorado Senate for staggered 4-year terms. The commission staff consists of roughly 100 employees who conduct the day-to-day business of the commission, serve as advisors to the commissioners, and occasionally intervene in commission proceedings to represent the public interest. Commission staff do not have any authority beyond what is delegated to it by the commissioners, which is very limited. Final decision-making authority rests with the commissioners themselves. So getting onto the dispute resolution, the first level that a 911 authority or PSAP should consider is direct escalation through the company. The CenturyLink BES tariff states that a customer, being the 911 governing body or the PSAP purchasing the service, can escalate issues with the company. CenturyLink provides the Commission's 911 Advisory Task Force with an updated list of escalation contacts to try to resolve issues. We hopefully keep that up to date. CenturyLink hopefully will continue to provide us with updated copies of that on an annual basis. If you need an updated copy of that list, email us. You can use the email that's on the address that's on the screen, or just email myself or Jennifer directly, and we can get you a current contact list for CenturyLink. Note that you are not required to attempt to resolve your complaint with the company first through the escalation contacts provided by the company, but it is highly recommended because doing so may resolve your issue before having to escalate it to the commission, which will save you and everyone else time, but it will also demonstrate that the governing body or PSAP made a good faith effort to resolve the issue with the company prior to escalation with the commission if that becomes necessary. That moves us on to the second, what I consider the second level, which is informal complaints. Like the dispute resolution escalation process set forth in the BES tariff, informal complaints are an optional step. You do not have to do an informal complaint. You can move directly onto a formal complaint, but sometimes an informal complaint may be enough to resolve an issue. Informal complaints may be provided by any party, and complaints concerning basic emergency service can be sent to myself, to Jennifer, or to the 911 program email address. One key factor with informal complaints, and the reason why you might want to consider doing this before a formal complaint, is that no official filing is necessary. You do not have to file anything in the Commission's e-filing system to submit an informal complaint. One thing we will ask is that because Jennifer and I engage very regularly with local 911 agencies on a wide array of issues, we may not recognize that what you are providing us is an informal complaint that you want to be handled under the informal complaint rules in the commission's rules of practice and procedure. So if you want it to be handled as an informal complaint, it would be helpful for you to state that in your email when you tell us. Informal complaints are handled under Rule 1301 of the Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure, and complaints concerning basic emergency service will be handled by the Commission's Consumer Assistance section in conjunction with the Telecom Program section. So the Consumer Assistance section handles all informal complaints, but of course they are not experts on 911, so they will be working with us on the handling of that complaint. Some important points to keep in mind is that informal complaints are handled by Commission staff, not by the Commission itself. So remember, there is a difference. There are 3 commissioners and 100 Commission staff. The commissioners are the ones that have formal decision-making authority. Informal complaints are not handled by the Commission. There is no proceeding created. There's no official record for the Commission. And the complaint needs to be regarding something that the Commission has statutory authority to regulate. So if we receive a complaint that's over a topic that the Commission does not regulate, that does not have the statutory authority to regulate, then we will let you know why it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction. But otherwise, it does need to be something that the Commission has the authority to regulate. Another important point is that submitting an informal complaint does not preclude you from filing a formal complaint at any time. So if you file an informal complaint, you don't feel like it's getting anywhere, or you aren't satisfied with the response that you got, you can still file a formal complaint. You can do it in the middle of that. You can file an informal complaint and then change your mind and decide to file a formal complaint while the informal complaint is still active. You can still do that. They're completely separate processes. Potential outcomes for informal complaints. If the matter is regarding something that the Commission has authority to regulate, Commission staff has a number of different actions it can take, including but not limited to investigating the informal complaint or providing the complainant with information about how to file a formal complaint. While Commission staff may file a formal complaint on behalf of the complainant as a result of an informal complaint, I will state and emphasize that this is very rare and is only done in very specific circumstances. You are the customer alleging a violation of Commission rules or failure to comply with the tariff, and your participation is needed to fully inform the Commission of the issue and request resolution. The Commission is a forum to which customers of regulated services and service providers can each plead their cases, and the Commission can adjudicate. It is not intended to serve as an advocate. 911 agencies must advocate for themselves. Responses and mediations to informal complaints. In the investigation of an informal complaint, Commission staff may refer the complaint to the BESP for a response, and the BESP is required to respond in writing within 14 days of the referral. If both the complainant and the company agree, the Commission may also refer the informal complaint to mediation, and a mediator will be assigned. Sometimes the mediator is an administrative law judge who will then work with both the complainant and the company to reach a resolution. Other than the authority to compel a company to respond to an informal complaint within 14 days, Commission staff has no authority to force the company to resolve the complaint. So the purpose of an informal complaint is to resolve the issue voluntarily. So you tell us what the complaint is, we talk to the company, we investigate what happened, we can inform the company of what the rules are if we feel like they're in violation of it. And the idea is that hopefully then we can reach a voluntary resolution of the issue. If not, we are also gathering information during this process that could be used in any action beyond an informal complaint, such as a formal complaint. That brings us to level 3, which is the formal complaints. Unlike informal complaints, formal complaints must be filed with the Commission through the Commission's e-filing system, which can be reached from puc.colorado.gov. This is a relatively easy process, and Commission staff can help you if you have difficulty navigating the e-filing system. You are not required to have an attorney to file a formal complaint, but it is recommended, and I'll get to why that is in a moment and what you can do if you don't have your own attorney. Some information about informal complaints, or excuse me, some information about formal complaints can be found in Rule 1302 of the Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure. If you want to ever look those up and see what it says about how formal complaints are filed. What information to include in a formal complaint? You need to state who you are. Any person can file a formal complaint, but you need to state what entity, agency, or organization you are filing the complaint as a representative of. You need to say who you're complaining about, the name of the company that you're alleging violated commission rules. Generally speaking, if you're talking about basic emergency service or the basic emergency service provider, that would be CenturyLink or Lumen, whichever name you prefer to refer to the company as. What your complaint is, what the company did in as much detail as possible, what you believe is a violation of the commission rules. And here you should be very specific. So you can name the specific statute, rule, tariff, or commission approved agreement that you are alleging was violated. And you need to tell us what you want the commission to do about it. This is called the relief sought. This could be compelling the company to comply with a rule, providing a refund, or any other action that you as the customer believes is appropriate as a response to the violation of the statute, rule, tariff, or agreement. So what to expect? Once you file a formal complaint, the director of the PUC will serve the company with the complaint along with a notice of a hearing date, time, and location. The company has 20 days to either satisfy the complaint or file a response. The complaint will usually be referred to an administrative law judge for hearing. These are judges that are employed by the PUC to handle cases and make recommended decisions to the commission. Ultimately, the commission gets to approve or deny the recommended decision, but that's where it usually starts, is with an administrative law judge. The judge will hold a hearing, and hearings are an opportunity for the commission to hear from both parties. These are handled like a court case, and this is why it is recommended for you to have an attorney to represent you who is experienced in handling court cases and evidentiary hearings and things that lawyers are specifically trained to handle. Some potential outcomes from a formal complaint. A formal complaint outcome will vary depending on the circumstances, but some potential outcomes include dismissal of the formal complaint if it is determined to be unfounded or outside of the commission's statutory authority. The commission may order the company to take certain actions to resolve the complaint, and the commission may impose a civil penalty on the company. Ways to participate without your own lawyer. So we recognize that while having an attorney is recommended, not every 911 governing body has easy access to legal counsel. So here's some things that you can consider. Consider engaging with your county attorney or an attorney for another 911 governing body. There are several attorneys in Colorado with experience in 911 issues and with PUC proceedings, many of whom participate regularly in this task force. And if you need a list of lawyers that we have engaged with in the past on 911 issues, we can provide you with that. We can't provide you with recommendations, but we can give you a list of the ones that we are aware of. If other 911 governing bodies have the same complaints that you do, you could consider filing jointly. And I think that is a very good idea because, number one, it's more efficient to file jointly rather than individual agencies file separately with the same complaint, but you can also share your costs for legal representation. Any party can file a formal complaint, so an organization could also file a complaint on behalf of one or more governing bodies. So keep that in mind as well. Filing petitions. Like a formal complaint, petitions also need to be e-filed. Petitions are handled under Rules 1304 and 2003. Petitions are appropriate in specific circumstances. For example, if you want the commission to change a rule, you would file a petition for rulemaking. If you want the commission to make a ruling on the interpretation of a rule or tariff provision, you could file a petition for declaratory order. If you want any other action from the commission not covered above, you could file a petition for relief. An example of that is you might ask the commission to open an investigatory proceeding. That would be a petition for relief because it doesn't fall under any of the other categories, but it's something that the commission could do. If you have any questions, procedural questions about how a petition can be filed or what would be included in a petition, you can contact us. We can't give you legal advice, but we can give you procedural procedural information about how to do that. And then there's engagement through this task force. So the task force doesn't have an attorney, so it'd be difficult for the task force to file complaints or petitions. However, the very purpose of this task force is to provide the commission, is to advise the commission rather, on matters related to 911. And it can file comments, letters, or requests informally through its existing repository proceeding, which is currently 17M-0276T, if you ever want to look that up and see all of the things that the task force has filed for the commission in the past. These filings could be as simple as providing information to the commission to make it aware of a particular issue, or it could actually suggest or advise the commission to investigate a particular issue. So that's really all of the things that I had to talk about today. I know that, you know, dealing with the PUC or regulatory bodies in general is not something that 911 authorities and PSAPs do on a regular basis, so it can seem very complex. But as I just went over, there are multiple ways that entities can engage with the PUC in order to resolve complaints. And I hope this was helpful. And if anybody has any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Oh, I have a question. I forgot we weren't muted. Daryl, you and I talked the other day about the audit and collection of emergency telephone charge.
Mm-hmm.
And my question, I guess, would be around, would it be appropriate to petition for rules to match the statute? Would that be helpful or would that not be helpful? I know I'm going halfway in that conversation because Daryl and I had a conversation about this.
Yeah, so the commission has rules that allow us to audit telecom providers regarding surcharges, including your local emergency telephone charges. That was something that was included in the statute, the legislation that created the state 911 surcharge. What you and I were talking about, Jackie, is that it is difficult for the commission to take action against companies unless there is something very specific that we can point to. If they don't respond to audits. And I think we would have to talk about the specific situation that we would have to and go over what the options are on that, I think. So for instance, Jolene is now doing regular audits of the carriers on a semi-randomized rotating basis to make sure that they are remitting 911, 988, and TRS surcharges as they are supposed to under statute. And if one of those companies doesn't respond to that specific audit, then that is something that we could potentially take action on. What you and I were talking about is if we do like a blanket, we want all of the providers to tell us how many phone lines they have in a specific area. That would be more difficult for us to take action on because it's not related to a specific audit of that company. Does that help?
That does help. Thank you.
Does
Okay.
anybody else have any questions for Daryl?
Well, thank you, everybody. If anybody thinks of a question later, feel free to email me. Otherwise, like I said, this presentation is also available on the 911 program webpage.
Thanks, Daryl. That was great. All right. On to standing reports. Just a reminder, we don't go through and read each one of the reports, but I will call on each person in case there's anything additional they would like to add or questions that people have for them. Up first, Jennifer for PUC staff update.
Thanks, Tina. This is Jennifer. We do have several proceedings still open, and they're all listed there. So you can go and read about them if you'd like. I did want to call attention to Jolene's audit summary that we included in this task force standing report. We will be doing these as Jolene completes the audits. So I would just encourage you to take a look at the audit summary that Jolene has provided. And Jolene is on the call in case anybody has questions. But I want to thank Jolene for the work that she's done because audit is a time crunch, painstaking process. And I'm grateful that she's doing it because she's the perfect person to do that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to call attention to. So if anybody has any questions for me or Jolene, I'm happy to help, and I'm sure Jolene is too. So Tracy's put in the chat, can you please send out to the task force the commission's report to the legislators, which the commissioners approved yesterday? And yes, my intention is to put that onto our website. I can also send it out via email. I just wanted to make sure that it got to the legislature first before I made it the final draft public. So yes, that will go out.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Next on the list is the BSP report. Somebody from Lumen.
Hi, good morning, Tim Kunkelman. I don't have anything to report today.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Tim? Okay, Intrado.
This is Mary. I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Bylaws Committee, Kimberly.
No updates, no requests for changes.
Okay. Legislative Committee, Jackie Louise.
Any questions? We're plugging along on misuse of 911 again.
Any questions for Jackie? Okay. 988, Kelly, is she on the call? Okay. Equal Access Committee, Holly.
Good morning. Nothing additional unless folks have questions.
Okay, thanks, Holly. Outage Committee. I don't have anything additional. Daryl, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Only what I added there in that second paragraph in the standing report, talking about the active investigations we're tracking. We are getting them concluded. We're down to 4 active investigations, and I'm knocking on wood right now. There was a fairly widespread outage yesterday in Northwest Colorado, but and Jennifer can correct me if she's gotten more up-to-date information, but as far as we know so far, 911 was not directly impacted, although admin lines and internet service were. Jennifer, do you have any more info on that?
No, as best we can tell, it was a fiber cut, and Lumen was sending a tech to fix it. The fiber cut was near Kremling, and it was affecting, as you said, internet, and also some cellular providers that rely on Lumen's backhaul for their services seem to be affected. I know of one agency in southwestern Colorado that was having difficulty with their VoIP-fed admin lines, but when I asked CenturyLink, they said that they thought maybe that was a separate issue because of the distance. So it seemed to be limited to northwestern Colorado. And if anybody has anything else or new information, I'd love to hear it. But it appears that 911 was not affected.
No, my understanding from some people at the conference yesterday is like Grand County was out, like Verizon and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was Verizon and AT&T that were affected as well. Yeah. So.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Prepaid and Collections Committee, Jackie.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the proposal that was put in to change the way we're distributing prepaid wireless funds was taken off the table. I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that, because there was a lot of talk about it, and thank you for all your participation. It did help us move to other projects that need to be looked at.
Thanks, Jackie. Do you have any questions for Jackie or the committee? All right. EZNet Users Group, Kathy.
Good morning, everybody. Nothing really to update. We had our EZNet Users Group meeting yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to get the report done, so that'll be updated soon.
Thanks, Kathy. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? Okay. GIS committee, Matt? All right. Colorado Public Safety broadband update, Kristen? Anything to add? All right, PSCS, Denny?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. The SWIC update, Amanda? All right. Division of Fire Prevention and Control report, Connie?
Nothing to add.
Colorado 911 Resource Center, Connie?
Maybe the only thing to add was that the webinar on Monday was very well received. We have a lot of interest from out of state and what we're doing with the training modules.
All right, thanks, Connie. Does anybody have any questions for Connie? All right, Rapid SOS, Karen or Sam?
Hey folks, good morning. A lot to ingest here about Apple SOS live video and multimedia to 911. I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm available for any questions or concerns either here or offline. And I have done some proactive outreach to all the 911 PSAP directors, but by all means, please reach out if you have any questions, need a demo, want information about that.
Thanks, Sam. Does anybody have any questions for Sam? CCOA update, Kimberly?
So my update in the report is pretty long. It's a summary, again, of everything that we've got going on. And also just want to call out our State 911 Authority Board meeting that is coming up. So please take a look at the report that we provided and let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Kimberly. Does anybody have any questions for Kimberly? All right, Colorado training standards.
Sorry, I added that into the standing reports, but not the agenda. And I don't think CJ got a chance to put his update in there, but we are continuing to update our material and encouraging PSAPs to participate in the Training Standards Institute. And as noted in the Equal Access Committee update, we are partnering with them to begin working on some training for both 911 professionals and the access and functional needs community with regards to interacting with 911. So lots of opportunity to participate and be involved for anybody who wants one.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. That does conclude our standing reports. Does anybody have anything else they wanted to add before we move on to old business? All right, the only thing on old business is the camera trunk follow-up. Jeff.
Thanks, Tina. We had a discussion yesterday in regards to this on the Ethernet user group. And what we're looking to do is we're putting together, Tracy Dill's getting the list of the DNs, which are the numbers that were assigned to the camera trunks. And we're going to distribute that to Jennifer Kirkland. And obviously, as she pointed out yesterday, we're not going to post that anywhere. And then we will need to be able to work to find out who wants to actually have the dialability removed from those particular numbers. Excuse me. So that's the update I have in that particular regard. And then to follow up, looking at what we've got in there for the camera trunk issue, that also came up yesterday. What we're doing is Tracy and I and a couple others internally here at Lumen are going to come up with a game plan. It sounds as if the disconnect process when the ESNet was migrated to, there might have been some items that were missed on that. So we're circling back on that to see what course of action needs to be taken to get that rectified. The root cause that Matt from Grand Junction had identified, and appreciate him being able to work with us on that and find that, the connectivity of the old legacy equipment, the camera trunks, somehow was affecting that. So that's part of what we're going to be doing, is going back and looking to see what we need to do to get that rectified.
Thanks, Jeff. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff? Okay, any other old business that we may have missed? All right, on to new business. Jeff, for TSP and E-line overview.
Yes, excuse me. So TSP. TSPF, for those that are not aware, it stands for Telecommunication Service Priority. It's actually an FCC program that you need to go through and actually sign up with the FCC. And then once you get that established, you're assigned an actual TSP number. And what this does in the case of, and I'm sure probably the vast majority of those that are on here in the PSAP community have experienced at one point or another, their non-emergency lines have had some type of issue, outage, or challenge with it. And what the TSP does is when you get that number established with the FCC and get it assigned to your account, it actually elevates the level of repair and attention that that particular service is going to have. And it's not just your non-administrative lines. It's going to also can be applied towards circuits as well. So it's something that I have, for the 20 years that I've been involved with 911, have been a champion of, and have reached out proactively in some cases. When we have outages and issues, that's one of the first things that's asked is, do you have TSP added to the line? The cost that's associated with that, because there is a cost that does come with it, specifically for the state of Colorado, there's an FCC charge and a state charge that goes with that. And the monthly charge in regards to Colorado per line, it's right around $3.05, at least currently today. I don't know that those rates will change, and if they do, it's not going to be that drastic, but it's a small price to pay when it comes to wanting to get the service restored. That's the monthly reoccurring charge, but then there is also a non-reoccurring charge, both from the FCC and the state, that would be applicable as well. So I am more than willing to work with anybody that wants to be able to look into that. Kathy Kendricks, who does a lot of the work for me on this end of it, would be involved also. Jennifer does have the links for the TSP information that I sent to her. There's primarily from the FCC, but there's also another one from CISA that has some really good information on this. Any questions on that?
If I could ask Jennifer, if you've got those links, can you throw them in the chat?
Yes. So Holly and I got locked out of some of our stuff this morning. So if I can't get it fast enough to put in the chat, my intention is to put it on the 911 program webpage. And I can send that out as well.
Thank you.
I've got the Jennifer. I can put those in real quick. Give me just a second.
Great.
Hey, Jeff, this is Kathy Riley. I just want you to know I sent out those TNs and the ring no answer reports to the ESNet users group yesterday.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And there are the links, Andrew, and for everybody else.
Matt, go ahead.
Thank you. Jeff Winkleman, in working on some of our call issues over the last year or so, you guys have provided to us other DNs said to be for call delivery to Wesco Dispatch And those DNs are not in that spreadsheet. So now I'm kind of wondering if those are legacy CAMA DNs and we too have that similar CAMA trunks issue that Matt in Grand Junction was talking about.
You are experiencing the same thing that they were?
Well, we're having similar issues, and you and Mr. Newton have provided to us other DNs which are not in this new spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I'm trying to reconcile, okay, so what are those other DNs for? So maybe something we should talk about offline, but feel like folks on this call should maybe know that there might be other DNs out there, maybe related to those old CAMA trunks.
Right. And we're pulling because when the state migrated to the EZNet, we had the records off of the PSAP profiles that we have updated. And so we're digging into old records as far as the CAMA trunks itself. We still have some of the numbers listed, but that's where the report actually was generated from that was sent out. But to your point, Matt, there could be some that may not be listed on that are lingering somewhere else. So yeah, let's take that offline and maybe dig into a little bit deeper and see if we can identify where they're coming from and see if we can maybe find the source of that for the rest of the community as well.
Outstanding. Thanks.
Does anybody
Tina,
else? Oh, go ahead.
This is Jennifer. I wonder, I know Matt Allen is on the line, and because we're talking about this in a little bit of detail, I wonder if Matt would just share what Grand Junction experienced so that other PSAPs who may not have been at the EZNet users group yesterday can be aware of what we're talking about with the CAMA trunk issue here.
Yeah, I can do that. And it'd just be a quick 30,000 foot view. It was last month on the 17th, we had calls in from our dispatch center saying that our admin lines were basically lighting up the entire room, just consistently kept coming in. That's the part that made this confusing. We didn't, we were looking at the admin lines. It was the weekend. We couldn't figure out what was going on there. Through troubleshooting and assistance with one of the Lumen techs, we eventually got to the point where we pulled the cross connects from our CAMA trunk lines on the wall, and that finally stopped these phantom calls that were coming in with no caller ID. So again, just a real quick overview of what we experienced. Happy to chat with anyone further and in more depth if need be.
Thanks, Matt. Does anybody have any questions for Matt and what they were experiencing? Okay, any other questions for Jeff?
And that's the TSP portion. Would so like to be able to touch on the E-line.
Sure.
So E-line, I don't know, and I hate throwing the question out with the large audience that we have. So E-line services, I'll just give you an update with what it is. It's a combination of a couple of things. So the reason this is brought up, the state, from what I understand, and we've worked with a couple of different agencies on this, is going through a change as far as an upgrade to the DTS for the radios. And that requirement is moving things from typically what we've seen are standard T1 connections, which is a legacy network or legacy system under TDM technology, and moving it to Ethernet. And that's exactly what the E-line service does. We've got in that umbrella of E-line service, it's both E-line and E-LAN. And the distinction between those is E-line is more of a point-to-point connection, and then E-LAN is a multi-point to multi-point or point to multi-point. So you can actually set up your services to be able to reach out to several different locations. Let me see if I can share, and Jennifer also has the information on this. Let me see. Oh. And bring up the right screen. Let me know when you can see that.
We can see it.
Okay, thank you. So this is a high level, and this is the file that I was able to get over to Jennifer for it. So it gives you the ability to actually control quite a bit. and move to a newer technology. This has been around since 2015 as far as the service itself. So it's not a new technology. It's not something that we offer that has just been developed. And it has been constantly going through improvements and updates. It allows you to control your network with the service itself. And this is not necessarily intended to be a sales call at all. This is more information for those that are looking to move to a different technology or platform, specifically around what the radio system is doing. But we have other applications that would apply for. But with this, with the service that we're able to offer, you can actually go in and set up a portal and you get a ton of reports that goes pretty in depth. But as you can see what I was saying before, as far as the technology here, you've got the E-line and E-LAN, which are the two different types of topologies that we can actually work for. It gives you real-time provisioning, so as you find that you need to either increase your bandwidth or the different things that we're going to go with, whatever configuration you have, you can actually do that on the fly. And that as far as the services itself, one of the key things is you're only paying what you need to as you go. Here's a little more detail. I'm not going to go through and read this line by line, but the biggest points out of this are it's a layer 2 technology. And the service levels that we have are at 4 nines opposed to 5 nines. So we have the scalability on this and the speeds. You can see on the scalability, we can go anywhere from 2 meg up to 30 gig, as well as the port speeds from 100 meg all the way up to 100 gigabits. The MEFCE is actually a nonprofit organization that has standards that organizations are striving to breach. So we have complied with those particular standards as well. And I've got one other document. I want to see if I can bring this up here. Actually, I will save you the PowerPoint death presentation on this. But it's cloud-based, high level, as far as E-line is concerned. So we have the connectivity that actually will go into the cloud and give you those connections that you need. There's still physical connections, obviously, that you need to have at your location. The applications that this is used for is going to be both business enterprise, but in this regard, for what we're talking about today, it's going to be mostly for your radio network. That would allow you to move over to something other than the TDM or the DS1 technology that's currently in place. That's it on a very high level. If anybody wants to go a little deeper into this and get more technical information, I'd be happy to go ahead and set up a time with you and my engineer to be able to walk through the details of what might actually work for your application. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Jeff. Anybody have any last questions for Jeff on the TSP or the E-line? All right, moving on to our next item of new business. This is going to be some issues they're having in Gunnison. Jody?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I apologize. My email server is being worked on, so I don't exactly have what I need. But we recently had an outage, I believe it was on 8/20, and I might be able to pull it up here, where we were notified by Lumen that we had an outage potentially affecting our ability to receive or receive 911 calls or make outbound calls. The center itself wasn't experiencing any issues, and we were not notified of any issues, but I kept receiving updates. And so we received the initial email at 2:36 p.m. on 8/20. We conducted several test calls within the centers using both cell phones and landlines, confirming that they were successfully connected. About 15 minutes later, we received a call from the Lumen NOC indicating our location was unable to dial out or receive 911 calls. He requested that we perform some test calls, which we did. Those were also successful. From him, he was stating that we could not dial out or receive 911 calls from our location. So we thought we had an issue within the center. 2 hours later, I received an email that a technician had been dispatched, and the cause of the outage was still unknown. By 6 o'clock, I had not seen the technician, so I kind of left information with my staff to call me if they came. We did not ever receive a technician on site, and there was never a ticket created for them. Next morning, I hadn't heard from anybody, so I sent an email to the NOC requesting to be updated, but I did not get a response from them. And then about 1:06 p.m. the next day, so almost 24 hours later, I received a disruption notification that the final cause had been resolved at 1:38 p.m., even though I received the email at 1:06 p.m. and that the cause was still unknown. It just stated a central office technician had cleared buffers and restored outgoing call functionality. Again, we still had no known issues within our communication center. So I contacted Lumen to clarify because this wasn't making sense. I was informed that the outage may have actually been in Hinsdale County, not within our center as we were originally told. But at no point were we told that this could be an issue in Hinsdale County. We did not test calls in Hinsdale County, nor notify our responders of potential disruption in communications. I have asked Lumen for any 911 calls that were made but not delivered to our PSAP for that time frame, but I haven't actually heard back yet. So I guess we still don't have clarity on what this potential outage was. It was not a basic emergency service outage per se, but we were never notified that it was a potential that Hinsdale County could not call 911. And then we still don't know the cause or if any 911 calls were not received during that time frame.
Thanks, Jody. I know that Jody has spoke with Daryl and I believe Jennifer. And Daryl, feel free to hop in, but I believe this one did not qualify for an investigation by PUC staff, but we are going to conduct one on the outage committee and we're working on scheduling that now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, I don't know if I got my hand up like I meant to. Anyway, yes, Jody requested that we look into it for an investigation, but because the ability of the 911 center to receive 911 calls was never disrupted, it was local outages in Hinsdale County, not at the PSAP. It does not meet the definition in our current rules for a staff-led investigation. That being said, investigating things like this is one of the things that the outage committee can still do on a voluntary basis. And Jody did request that. So I've been trying to schedule a meeting for the outage committee. It's just hard to do with everybody's schedules, but that will get done so that the outage committee can discuss this further and hopefully have a dialogue with Tim on what happened here and what might be able to be done better in the future. I also want to point out that the FCC issued new rules on originating service providers regarding their requirements for notifying 911 centers of outages, but those rules are not currently in effect. They have to be approved by the Office of Management and Budget. So they are not in place yet. There are a number of originating service providers that are already following those rules, just kind of trying to get ahead of it. I'm not sure that those rules would apply in this situation anyway because of the populations that we're talking about, but that was another thing that we looked into as in connection with this outage.
Thanks, Daryl. Does anybody have anything they would like to add or questions or comments for Jody?
Hi, Tina, this is Jennifer.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is for Tim and Jeff, and understanding that this was not necessarily a VES outage, but were you able to identify whether or not there were any 911 calls in Hinsdale County that were unable to be delivered? So should Jody still be looking for that information? And the other question I have is that quite often the PSAP disruption, service disruption notification emails that go out will sometimes include what appears to be OSP outage notifications, and it'll look like, 976 customers in such and such an area may not be able to dial 911. And the question that I have is, does CenturyLink Lumen have a plan for those OSP notifications to begin going out should the FCC rules become adopted or go into force?
Hi, Jennifer, this is Tim. I have not heard that there were any calls that couldn't be delivered. And then I have not communicated with our notification team in the NOC about these pending FCC rules. So I do not have an answer on that process.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have questions or anything else to add? Okay, and Jody, like Daryl said, we're trying to get that scheduled, so we'll get that set up soon.
Great, thank you. I'd just like to get a little bit more background. Again, I know it's not a BES outage, but there's some definite concern that I might have had an entire section of my population that couldn't reach us and we were not notified of that. So would like to discuss further. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely. You're welcome. Nothing else. Does anybody else have any new business that we need to discuss? Okay, looks like just a few reminders. October 10th is going to be a lunch and learn by Prepared, and then our next task force meeting will be November 14th, and it will be virtual only. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order before we adjourn?
Tina, this is Jennifer. Kelly Bowman with 988 just joined. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to share any information that she might have about the transition to Solari and give the opportunity to ask her questions. Nothing like getting put on the spot right when you join a meeting, Kelly. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Sorry, I'm glad I was able to join, and hopefully this won't take too long. As I mentioned, I think in one of the last task force meetings, we did go through the transition from Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners to Solari, answering both 988 as well as the statewide crisis line and warm line on September 1st. That transition went very well. We didn't have any service disruptions. Our mobile operations are still up and running. And again, there was no drop in calls, texts, chats, anything like that. So super excited to be through the transition. All things seem to be going very well. Another exciting update is that 988 is beginning its first phase of changing the 988 call routing beginning September 17th. The two of the three big carriers, which is going to be T-Mobile and Verizon, will begin routing calls based off geo routing, so getting to the closest contact center instead of based off area code, which is what 988 has been routed off previously. Again, this only applies to 988 calls, and it's just for the first two carriers. AT&T should be transitioning later this fall, and then we will be working on routing implementation and changes, hopefully for tech services in the next year or so. So exciting changes. As always, lots of things going on with 988, but we're very encouraged about the development, given that we're only a couple of years old. Did speak with Solari, and it sounds like we've already had several of the 911 PSAPs who were already referring contacts directly to the contact center. They've continued to do that, so that is still available as an option. So if you are a PSAP and you are interested in sending some of that contact information, or in sending 911 calls over to 988, again, that is something that we can offer. Happy to get you connected with Solari. They have a lot of experience, not only doing that here in Colorado, but they've done this in other states and territories. So they are not new to this conversation. And again, we really want to onboard more PSAPs so that we can hopefully take away from some of the volume that you're experiencing. Later this year, we are also hoping to partner and work on some of the data enhancement with the contacts that are sent from 911 to 988, so we can report back to the system to say, you know, how are these contacts resolved? What type of interventions do they receive on the back end? Again, so that PSAPs feel more comfortable sending over certain call types. So lots of exciting information. We're very encouraged about what we're seeing, not seeing a huge drop off in our speed of answer. That is something that we're really excited to see that transitioned very well too. So I believe we had at least one of the two public safety liaisons transition from Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners to Solari. I know for sure that Maddie had accepted a position with them and is on that team. I don't know about Amin. I had not heard if he had interviewed, but did want to share that we were able to keep Maddie as one of our team members working on that 988 911 interoperability. We're going to be spending a lot more time and energy on that later this year. So quick update, any questions, comments, anything that I can help clarify? Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate the update. Anything else for the good of the order? Anybody online or anybody in the room? All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Have a great rest of your day. We'll show the meeting adjourned at 11:09. Thanks.
Take care,
Tina.
everyone.
Much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
So I know Beth went out to get us lunch, so lunch should be here shortly. And it is Moe's Barbecue.
Biggest problem was.
Yeah, you're going to stay for that.
Yeah, you
Haven't had it. You definitely want to stay for that. Thought you guys were going to show us something.